Hi, welcome to Stress Free Aging. I'm Amanda Allen, and I'm here with a special guest. Her name is Melanie Clark, and thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Today's show is kind of special because we really should have done this show as the first show of the launching show that we had, because we're going to talk about the why behind stress-free aging and why we need this video series and podcasts that we're doing.
Okay.
I want to start off, anyone that has any questions, please contact me. You can email me at stressfreeaging@gmail.com. That's stressfreeaging@gmail.com. So we'll get that straight out. Let's go right into this show and talk about one of the reasons behind why I decided to do this show. You and I have been friends for a long time.
Yes, we have.
We both have been caregivers.
Yes, we have.
I know that we both worked with seniors. We've worked in the medical field. So we've been, I know that I've been doing this since I was about 19 years old.
Wow.
So it's been a long time.
Yes.
So right now, as we move forward with the show, I wanted to talk a little bit about what happened, because you're kind of an inspiration of some of the things that have happened in your life. As to, this is your story is something that happens to so many people out here.
Yes.
And that's the fact is you were residing in Michigan, and your mother lived in Florida. So let's start back as to when you moved, and let's go right into.
Okay. Well, my mom has had medical issues for a long time, but as she got older, they became more the forefront of her life, and it concerned me that I may need to relocate to be closer to her. I remember I was working with you were a manager at the time when we worked at the medical facility together, that business, and I decided I'm going to move down, relocate to be closer to see, what's going on with her.
Right.
And I remember your the doctor of the medical practice was saying, well, what do you think you're going to do? And I said, well, I'm going to be a partner in her care. I'm going to be the partner for her in her care, because I'm going to let her know that there is someone here closer to home with her to oversee. So I didn't see myself going in as I'm going to take over everything, because she wasn't at that place as yet. She was still able to do for herself.
Right. Now, after talking to you, I know that there was, I remember one particular issue. Can we talk about the driving issue? Okay. There was something, can you just tell one story about the driving?
She would forget. While I was here in Michigan, she would call me all excited. Oh, I am somewhere. I'm like where are you? And because we didn't realize the signs of the dementia was getting ahead of her.
Right.
And because there was no dialogue between my siblings and myself, they didn't realize what was happening. But because of my exposure to healthcare and for dealing in home care and dealing with the elderly, I saw that something was off, because she would call me. She lives in Ocala, Florida, which is north central Florida. But she would be heading up to Atlanta, Georgia. And I'm like, where are you going? And she's like, I don't know. I'm just driving. I'm just trying to find a Volvo store. I'm like, but there's one in Ocala. There's one in Gainesville at the time. So I was like, Lord, please get her home safely. And as they're aging and they're trying to hold on to their independence,
Right.
they don't see anything what is wrong with what they're doing.
Right.
But my mom suffered for a long time for these mood swings, and we just didn't know what it was. But because I had a foreknowledge, like she's going into dementia, Alzheimer's, and the two are interchangeable. Some people are like, well, when is dementia, when is Alzheimer's? I don't have the exact medical understanding sometimes of that, but the forgetfulness of where her keys were.
Right.
The forgetfulness, she would call me, oh, I can't find my denture. I'm like, what do you mean you can't find your denture? And that will go 3 months. And then she'll be like, oh, I just went into the freezer and I found my denture. I'm like, your
Wow.
freezer? The denture is in your freezer? Because she forgets where she puts stuff.
Right.
So with all of that was going on, the driving, not knowing where she's at, she's just on I-75. I don't know where she's going. She's on some back roads. I'm like, okay, I need to wrap up my life here, put it on hold, and move down close with her
With
to
her.
oversee what's going on.
And one thing I love about this story, Melanie, is the fact that not only did you uproot the things that you had going on here in Michigan, but when you got there, you had, you gave mom choices,
Oh, yes.
which I think
yes.
that we're calling this show Stress-Free Aging, and I think this is very important to our viewers out there. If you have a loved one that's aging, you have someone that is, that are having issues, dementia issues, when they start to age, every decision that they make is being taken away. They're being dictated by a physician,
Yes.
by a social worker,
Yes.
by a case manager. In some cases, it could be medical providers just helping and doing what they need to do. Pharmacy, medications. Someone could be taking the same medication for a long time, and then they're taken off of it. And all of these different things are coming into place. And I just want to encourage the listeners out there, we need to have a little more patience. We need, during this time that everything is being taken away, we need to give those choices back. Give the power back to that
Exactly. It's not
mom or dad or
exactly
loved one.
because they raised us. We saw the best of them. They gave of themselves the best of themselves that they could give, given whatever they had going on in their lives at the time. So it's hard as an adult now to see your mom can't remember where she put her keys, or your mom is saying that driving on some back roads in Florida in a Volvo, and you're like, where are you? And another thing is that I was not comfortable to stay in Michigan because I wanted to be there hands-on to see what was happening. And when I went down that year, which is now 10 years ago, it was just chaos. There was medication everywhere. There was just clutter and medications, and so I had to make arrangements to visit doctors. I had to get her finances together. I had to say, I need to see your bank statements. I need to see how you're spending the money. It's not that I'm taking over. And then start to put little things into place to be like the overseer of stuff in an indirect way. Because I didn't want her to feel I came down to take over.
And that's what I think is such a very key thing, is that we don't take over. We don't say that we're coming in to do that. We're not going to come in and take over in a situation that is already stressful. I like the words that you said, a partner in your care.
Yeah.
So I want to go to some of the reasons why I started this.
Okay.
Stress-free aging, we have so many resources out here, but the community, and I'm going to call my listeners the community that's out here, they don't know where to find what, when, why, how. That's where I want to be a resource through these videos. We've talked about the fact, one of the guests that we had on was James, and he's from a senior real estate agency. And so right now there's so many people out here taking advantage of people that want to sell their home or aging adults, and they come in and they say, oh, well, we'll buy this house for wholesale. Mm-hmm. We'll buy this and everything in your house.
Yeah.
And then they'll have an estate sale. They'll sell everything, benefit off of the estate sale, mm-hmm. and then flip the house and make 3 times the money they paid for it.
But here's the thing too, the elderly, when they're aging like that and they have other metabolic illnesses like diabetes, mm-hmm. high blood pressure, it also compromises their the dementia. So before you know it, it explodes, and you don't even know what it really is, in the sense that because the body, the sugars are high or the blood pressure is high, and they don't feel well, and they don't know they're well, and they're not feeling well. And then they miss mm-hmm. taking their medication. The medication is not taken on time.
Right, but there's even some people, what I'm saying is that you have medical reasons why they could be taken advantage of.
Oh, yes.
And that's why I want to be out here to talk about the fact that let's not let our loved one be taken advantage of. Oh, no. Let's not let them be a victim of circumstance. We have so many victims out here, mm-hmm. That we create this place where they're targets. And I think many times our aging adults, our grandma, grandpas out here, mothers, fathers, uncles, aunts, they become a target for scams and things like that. So we mentioned about we mentioned about the senior real estate, the people trying to just come in
the companies that offer the reverse mortgage. They, the seniors are a big marketing population for that. Mm-hmm. We can give you a reverse mortgage, and because my mom was presented with that back in 2010 when I had her visiting with me, and they were going to give her a portion of her equity in her house, and it was so much, but they didn't tell you the fine prints of, are you going to take my, and then, she's not able to ask these questions. They need an advocate.
Right. And we have to act like that, whether it's us as a child.
Yes.
Being on behalf of the parent, yes. Whether it's shows like this,
yes.
And other people that are out there, and we're looking to keep them safe.
Keep them safe, but also when we the children become the caregivers, and not necessarily our daughters or sons, but we are now in a caregiving role for our parent. We need to know what are the resources out there for us.
Exactly, and that's what we're trying to do. Because it's a burnout.
It can be a burned out.
Exactly.
Because it's a one-on-one, and when you meet the resistance of your elderly parent, they don't want to acknowledge that they're independent. They feel like their independence is being taken away from them.
Right.
And then, we on the side of the caregivers now are trying our best to maintain a normal lifestyle for them and regulate stuff. I had to say to Mom, I'm trying to get you stuff structured. So this is what you're going to do in the morning. Mm-hmm. This is what you're going to do here. This is what you're going to do here. Because they live on their own, and when you talk to them on the phone, they sound fine. Mm-hmm. But when you come down and are actually in their house with them, you're like, wow, they need some help.
Now, I was just recently with a friend this weekend, and she's going through the same type of thing, mm-hmm. trying to clean up a apartment that is of her mom's, and trying to get things in order and organized. There's so many things that happen, and we have no control over it. Now, I'm going to give an example of what happened, what I actually saw. We're not going to reveal where this happened or who was responsible for it, but I just want to, I want to say this. Okay. So I saw medication that was being distributed to the mom. I saw the little medication that was from a pharmacy. I looked at the medication. The second packet, there were 3 packets together. The second packet had been opened and taped. There were 2 pills taken out of it. So myself, looking at it, having some medical background, I'm looking at this. So this was intact when the pharmacy delivered it to be distributed, but then it's been taken out. So my questions are, why is the medication taken out? I contacted the company that was responsible. Oh, her blood pressure's been low. We didn't want to give it to her. Okay, if that's the case, then it shouldn't be on the medication list. It shouldn't be on here. Who is the advocate when it comes to this? That's where, unless there's a family member, unless there's somebody that's advocating for that senior, unless it's somebody that's saying, hey, this just doesn't make any sense, then, you know, in the case, this resident actually knew what was going on.
Okay.
She was fully aware of it. She didn't have any confusion about it. She knew they took her off of that. But while I was there, they did her blood pressure, and it was extremely high. Wow. So that brings me back to the first show that I did with HomeMD, and I thought that's such a great resource to have a company like HomeMD, a physician company. I work with several other ones that come in there. Timothy Gates' office is a wonderful one for Metro Detroit. He comes in and he does work with seniors all throughout the area. I have so many amazing partners out here, and I just really want to be a resource here in Michigan, whether it's for assisted living, whether it's for nursing home, because I have resources for that. I have multiple people. We've had them on the show. I'm just excited to hear what seniors want. What kind of resources do they want? Well, not necessarily coming from me. I want to hear from the seniors out there, from the children out there, different subjects that they want to hear. We've done a dementia video. There's a couple of shows that we have coming up that's going to be addressing scams that are out here. We have, I have a gentleman that's going to be coming in and speaking about senior scams. I have so much great content coming out, but I wanted to just really find out, what would you like being a caregiver, and that you've been a caregiver and looking back. Now, I know that your mom, it's been a year, just over a year that she's passed.
Yeah.
Looking back, what would you say would be good resources for you? What would have been good resources for you?
To know where in the community I could go to get some help and not feel all alone. Mm-hmm. It's a very lonely road, because if you have your siblings are up north, and they are just connecting once a week or twice a week or once a month. So there's no dialogue between the siblings. And
that's a big problem, isn't it?
It's a huge problem. So there's no dialogue between the siblings as to what is actually going on with that aging parent. Mm-hmm. And then another thing is the meals, because with the Alzheimer's / dementia, my mom would go and she's cooking, and then she's on the phone and she's listening to the music. And by the time, there's so much pots and pans that were burnt with food because she forgets what she was doing at that time. Right. So I was able to see that. So I would say to her, when you're cooking, you're just cooking. You don't leave right here. Right. We had a chair stuff. I said, you don't leave this area until you're finished cooking.
But even with someone with dementia, they're not going to remember those kind of things.
And they don't remember.
And that's where disconnecting the stove, things like that. Yes. There's a lot of things out there that needs to happen to keep seniors safe. And and knowing that they're safe. I just want to bring this out there. If there's anybody out here that's a veteran or a spouse of a veteran, you have benefits. There are benefits available to you. And if you need information, please email me at stressfreeaging@gmail.com. I will get you in touch with a VA specialist that can get you those benefits if you don't have it. Another option I wanted to bring out there, someone that has been diagnosed, many times diagnosed with a hospice diagnosis, which is the description is a physician saying that patient has 6 months or less to live.
Okay.
Now, on hospice, you can live much longer than that. And many times, the sooner you get on hospice, the better, because you have so many more resources.
Okay.
I do work with Assured Hospice. I've worked with them for a while now. I do. I'm a big advocate of hospice. But one of the things that the challenge is maybe the kids are all working and they need to find a place that mom or dad has 24-hour care. There's options out there. Many times people have paid into a $200,000, $300,000, even a $500,000 life insurance policy. Many people don't understand that there's something called a living benefit. And that living benefit is that policy can be liquidatable up to 85% during the time of a critical illness.
Okay.
So if somebody is like that, so you can only imagine if you have a $250,000 life insurance policy and you've been diagnosed with a hospice diagnosis, maybe you want to take some trips, maybe you want to take a cruise, maybe you want to go out with your family and your loved ones and have some fun while you still have your health as much as possible. It can also help pay for assisted living, nursing care, 24-hour nurses, things of that nature. I really think it's so important. I want these resources to be out there because they do have wonderful programs like PACE has a great program. There's so many programs out here. I've worked with Oak Street Health with Dedicated Senior Medical. These are great organizations that have a wraparound program with the patient in mind. Your local senior center is a great place to get resources. Again, you need to seek them out. Hopefully there's some information that's been shared on here, one of the shows. I really want to get more information out here. Again, email is stressfreeaging@gmail.com. I know I've repeated that several times, but it's really important that we can get the opinion of everyone else out here, what it is they want to hear, what is... I have one of my partners that does a special program on Driving with Dignity. And it's really, we talked about it on a previous show. It's like, what do you do when that loved one is driving and they become legally responsible to maybe killing somebody? Mm-hmm. That means that your 80-year-old mother could be facing jail time for manslaughter.
Exactly.
Vehicular manslaughter. And that is a reality that is out here. So how do you have those conversations? How do you go and you move forward when those kind of conversations are out there?
And they're hard conversations to have. And then as you're aging, like my mom ended up with kidney failure.
Okay.
And so, that there was that decision to make. Are you going to go on dialysis or what you're going to do? And I had to say to her, you can still make your own decisions. Mm-hmm. You are not deemed incompetent. So what you want to do? Because I was trying to engage her in her own health plan.
That partner in care.
And she says to me, I don't want to do that because, and she gave her reasons which were legitimate. She lived alone when she comes home from dialysis, who's going to be there with her? I said, well, you don't have to do that. And, the Lord allowed, because the doctor gave her 6 months to live. This was back in 2020, I think, 2019, 20. And then she lives, my mother lived 18 months after that.
Many times people do. They do live a little bit longer, but I understand that those caregivers out there are stressed out. They have a lot on their plate. They have a lot of things going on. So we want to be a resource for them. So
Absolutely.
if you're out there and you're faced with this, don't go it alone.
No.
Talk to somebody. If you've asked a social worker, if you've asked someone else, keep asking, because the answers are out there.
Yes,
They are out there. There's resources to help. We talked about the VA benefits for a veteran, $2,500 a month towards their aid and attendance could be very helpful in a situation where someone needs to work and they need someone to care for their loved one at home. That could really come in handy. So those are some of the topics that we'll continue to talk about. There's so many others. We're actually going to be going into the use of, with marijuana being legalized in many, many states. We're going to talk about seniors using that. I also have some topics coming up with alcohol abuse and drug abuse, opioid abuse among seniors. So we've got some great topics, and I just thank everyone for being here. Melanie, thank you for being here and being this special guest today. And I just, I'm going to give the email just one more time, stressfreeaging@gmail.com. My number is 586-306-8449.